Hey guys, welcome back to Hands On Channel. I thought I'd take you today for a tour of our little backyard chicken coop here. This is not our permanent setup, it's just an old dog pen that we've kind of modified to make work, but I want to pull you in here and show you some of the things that we've done and kind of talk to you about some of the things that have been good and bad over the years about having backyard chickens and some of the things you need to look out for. You can see here we've got 6 of the larger chicks. They're almost what you'd call chickens now. They're kind of teenagers right now. In fact, the wife and I have taken to calling them teenage mutant ninja chickens because they're not very pretty at this stage in their life. These here are probably pushing 6 weeks old, I'd say. I don't know exactly, but I would reckon around 6 weeks old. You can see there's a couple of dark black birds, and the rest of them are kind of a brownish reddish color. The brownish reddish birds here are all Americanas. We've had really good luck with Americanas. They lay like a greenish bluish egg. Oftentimes the feed stores will sell what they call Easter eggers, and they'll call them Americanas. So I don't know, they may be Easter eggers, but they were sold to me as Americanas, so that's what I'm calling them. The blackbirds over here that you see, those are a half Rhode Island Red and half Australop, they call it. I've never had any experience with Australop, but in the past we have had a couple of flocks of Rhode Island Reds, and they're great birds. They lay the brown eggs, so just so that you kind of know, not all birds lay white eggs. Maybe you didn't know that, but some birds lay Easter eggs, as they call them, or colored eggs, and other birds lay the brown eggs. So, there's really no taste difference or anything that I've noticed. So, it's just, what do you like? Do you like to go out there and get colorful eggs, or do you want brown eggs, or what? So, and I know there are some varieties that lay white eggs, but I've never had any of those birds. But basically, this is our outdoor coop, and we only use this when the weather's warm because these birds are still young enough that, they can't overnight outside. Something like a possum or something like that could get in there and get to them. So you've got to really protect them. And hopefully, they're just playing. Hopefully over here on the fence, you can see this chicken wire. That chicken wire runs about halfway up the cage here. It's chain link, and then the chicken wire's on the outside, wired onto that. And that keeps them from being able to poke their little heads through there and get out. Because honestly, the chain link wouldn't be small enough. They'd be able to fit right through that at this stage. So, yeah, they like to hang out and play and frolic out here and scratch around a lot. We like to let them do this as much as possible, and it's springtime right now, so it's kind of hit and miss. Some days we can bring them out here, and as long as there's good sun, and other days we can't. If it's too windy or too cold, then we can't do it because obviously we don't want them to die. But yeah, they're quite a lot of fun, and my wife just threw some cream of wheat or something down there on the ground. They also like oats. Man, they love oats. It's like one of their favorite treats, like oatmeal. If you got some old oatmeal or something, the old Save brand, you don't have to get the fancy stuff. Just get them a thing of oatmeal and start throwing that out as like treats for them. You can actually control them with that oatmeal. They like it enough. You can toss it over in the corner if you want them to go to that corner, and they'll stay there, for a while, and it gives you time to do other stuff. So be aware of that, especially with really, really young birds. You've got to be careful. They're probably not going to go outside on their own until they're at least 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks old. Like these here. I'll show you these peeps because they're pretty cute. These are also Americanas here. So I've got 2 that are half-breed birds here. The other ones that I showed you, the blackbirds. But the rest of them are all Americanas. So right now we're keeping them separated only because these little birds and the big birds, they're so much different in age that they don't really, and size, they don't really recognize each other right now as chickens. So, but these ones are really cute. Picked these up over at Tractor Supply. We've got 4 hens here. We know for sure these are hens. It's one of the things that's great about going to like a feed store and places like that. When the hatcheries catch these young enough, they can flip them over. They know how to do it, and they can check to see if it's a male or a female. That larger black bird, let's see if I can point to it. This one right here, I believe that's a rooster. If you look at his comb there, just the way he's developing, he's quite a bit bigger. He acts a lot different. He's a lot more vocal, and he seems to be, if it's a male, it seems to be very alert compared to the others. So I think that's a rooster, and we might actually have one of these Americanas one of the different, the brownish birds. One of those could be a rooster as well. We think we got lucky and we've only got 1 or 2 roosters, but you know, you can't have multiple roosters. And honestly, this will be our first time we've ever raised a rooster. We've always just done hens only in the past. So get back over here to these peeps. They're playing around. These ones especially, these are probably 3 to 4 weeks old, so you really have to be careful with these smaller birds as far as temperature and stuff like that, and making sure they have plenty of water. And the way you do that is you'll have a smaller box, like a cardboard box or a Rubbermaid type of a container. This container out here outside of the pen, we've been using that for the smaller birds. So when they're small and you've only got 4 or 6 birds, you can fit them in a container like that. And what you do is you put a couple of, or what I do is I put a couple of paper bags down at the bottom like you get at the grocery store, and then you put the pine chips on top, and that gives them some bedding so that it's easier to clean up their poo, and it lasts. It's like litter, it's like cat litter kind of, but you do have to change it out like every other day or something, especially if you're keeping them in the house. And you should keep them in the house, especially at a young age, because, you know, again, you don't want predators or anything getting to them. If you've got a utility room or a shed or something like I've got over here, a big shed that's climate controlled, you can keep them in a place like that. You just need to make sure that obviously none of your house cats or any of the neighborhood dogs or cats or anything are going to come around there. While we're over here facing this direction though, I want to show you this water device. I like this. This one did not have the little screw thing on the top and the little hook. I actually put that on there, and so that I could hang it. The reason you want to hang these things is because chickens love to scratch. So they'll get right over by their water and kick dirt right inside the water. Where if it's up off the ground a little bit, it'll stay cleaner a lot longer. I've got a pretty good sized stump here. These chickens, they love to jump around and play, and you know, so it's good to give them some little obstacles and stuff, some branches. This branch here that you see, this small branch, it actually had all the leaves on it the other day, but they've been playing with it and picking almost all the leaves off, so it just gives them something to do. And one of the things the wife and I have noticed is that on the days when these chickens don't get to go outside and it's not warm enough and they get stuck in the box all day, well, that night they'll be in there squawking and protesting and, like, you know, kind of complaining that they didn't get to go out of the box, and they're a little stir crazy. So it's better if you can let them get out and get that exercise, because I guarantee you tonight these chickens will be sleeping like babies. And that's the best thing, is they're just in there so content and so worn out from playing all day, you know, so it's just great. It's a lot of fun, but you do have to feed them. It's a lot of responsibility. You have to feed them, water them, make sure they have plenty of water. It's one of the things that'll kill your chickens quicker than anything else, is letting them run out of water in a hot climate, because they need constant access to that. So just be aware of that. Always have plenty of fresh, good water for them to drink. Make sure and feed them daily, sometimes twice a day if you have to, you know, depending on how many birds you have, or get a larger feeder. This water here, I don't really like it as much. The lip on it is not as big. I thought it would be good, because I thought maybe the little small birds here, of course they can use it, but the problem is I thought they'd be able to, it would catch less of the litter in their box when they're kicking it in there. So again, you have to have water and food 24 hours a day provided to them. So you have to set this and this inside the box that you're keeping them in the house. So just be aware of that. Always have plenty of water and plenty of food. And also, while I'm thinking of it, the box in the house, especially for these smaller birds, they like to be about 85 to 95 degrees. So one of the ways to achieve that is just get a standard utility light. Those can lights. Uh-oh, we got one trying to escape here. This one here has tried to escape out of the indoor box several times. This is my escape artist. Let's see, get back in there with your sisters. Get in there with your sisters. Yeah, this is just great. I love it. Get back in there with your sisters. Go on. You can make them climb up on your hand if you put your hand right in front of their feet like that, and they'll climb right onto your hand. Another way to grab them is you just come in around them like this and close their wings. You're not squeezing tight. You want to protect those wings, but you can hold them like that, and it won't hurt them at all. And if you want to handle the chickens, you need to pick them up and handle them while they're young, because if you don't, they won't be used to it when they're older, and they'll just run away from you and be skittish. Now, they're never going to be like, oh my gosh, they're never going to be like a cat or something like that loves to be handled. They're chickens, but the more you do it, the more comfortable they'll get with it. So, this little escape artist here, I'll get you back in there. I gotta get you back in there, girl. They're a heck of a lot of fun, and you know, I'll tell you, during some of these dark times we've been going through as a nation, it's given me a lot of hope. I was just walking past and hearing these chickens chirping and making their little chicken sounds and scratching and doing the little things they do. It really has been uplifting to my spirit. So that's a real added bonus. And if you have children, especially young children, man, there's just almost nothing better. I've got pictures, if I can find one. I've got pictures of my daughter when I made my very first chicken coop, and she's inside there playing with the little chicks, and it's just one of my favorite pictures, because it was just one of those things that brought us all together as a family, and we all had to do this thing together to make sure these birds stayed alive. And of course, we love them, so we want them to stay alive. And so real quick, let's talk about egg production. Right here I have 10 birds. Of course, as I said earlier, I'm not sure how many of those are roosters. So let's say 2 of them are roosters, and I'm right, 2 of them are roosters, and I end up with 8 hens. Well, I could get as many as 8 eggs a day once they're in full production. Now, at the beginning, when chickens first start laying eggs, they're not as productive as they will be when they're fully matured. But once they fully matured, especially Americanas and Rhode Island Reds, they will lay 5 days in a row most weeks. So every once in a while, you'll get one that'll go broody and try to get up there and sit in the box and sit, you know, she won't lay an egg. She'll just sit there for a week or whatever. And that's actually a good characteristic. If you want your hens to be mothers to the chicks, then that's a good characteristic. But if you're trying to just use them for egg laying, that's not so good. And there's a common misconception out there that you cannot eat an egg if the chicken has been around a rooster. Well, that's not true at all, because, you know, the stuff that's happening inside the egg doesn't take place until much later. So you're checking these eggs daily. That doesn't give it enough time for any of the rooster's seed to really do anything inside of the egg. And in fact, some people actually say they're more nutritious for whatever reason. So I don't know if I buy that, but what I do know is it won't hurt you to eat chicken eggs that, you know, have been fertilized. So don't worry about that. There's not a thing wrong with it. Now, what you wouldn't want to do, obviously, is let one become a chick and then try to, because that would be totally disgusting. But you're supposed to be going out and checking your eggs daily. So as long as you do that for egg production, as long as you do that, you're going to be good. Now, if you want to get to the point where your chickens will become mother hens, then obviously you're going to need to allow some of those eggs to stay in there and, you know, let those chickens set on those eggs. So now there's quite a lot to it. It's a pretty wonderful experience, and I certainly enjoy it. And one of the best things to me is that as far as being a prepper and stuff, this is like prepper insurance. I mean, it pretty much doesn't get any more prepper than having your own backyard hens. So I highly recommend it. One thing I will advise you on, though, is be sure to know your laws and your local codes before you go out and invest in chickens and, you know, all the stuff that I mentioned before. Because, you know, some places won't even let you have any chickens at all. Other places will let you have hens, but you can't have any roosters. So just follow your local guidelines. As far as the space that it takes, you could do it pretty much in any city backyard, as long as you're willing to put up with a chicken coop out there. You know, it's going to take up the space of a chicken coop. And, you know, that can be as big or as little as you want. I tend to go on the big side because I like my birds to be free and be able to kind of stretch their wings out and such. And when they get older, not right now, these ones are still too young, but when they get older and they get used to their chicken coop, we'll be able to take these birds and let them free range. So that means they'll be able to go out here in my yard, and I would recommend that you do it inside of a fenced-in backyard or something, because, you know, a dog could come along when you're not expecting it and eat one of your chickens. That would be awful. Or a bunch of your chickens. They can not, a lot of times some dogs will just kill just for the sport of it, and they won't even eat the chicken. They'll just come along and kill it because it moves and they're a dog. So just be aware of that. If you're going to let your chickens free range and you're not in a fenced-in area, you pretty much need to be there with them at all times, because it's that one moment when you turn away and that big neighborhood Rottweiler or Pit Bull or whatever German Shepherd comes over and destroys your flock. And it's going to ruin all your hard work and, you know, really hurt your feelings and stuff. So anyways, if you follow these basic guidelines, and I'm certain I've left some stuff out here, but if you follow these guidelines, it can be a whole lot of fun. And it not only gives you the opportunity to put, I mean, up to 8 eggs a day in my case. You know, let's say it was a bad day and I only got 4 eggs that day. That's still more than my wife and I really need. That would keep us alive. That's the point of this. As long as you can provide chicken food, they will produce eggs. And as long as you can give them water and food and all that, they will produce eggs. And the beauty of it is once they get old enough to free range, a lot of their food comes from, you know, out here in the yard where they're eating bugs and such. When they go along and scratch, that's what they're doing. They scratch leaves and such so that they can get those bugs and worms and things like that. Grubs, they love grubs. They love to find that kind of stuff, and it gets them a lot of protein and a lot of energy for producing eggs. On that front, I do think the farm-raised birds like this or backyard flocks, I think they produce better eggs as far as taste and flavor and stuff like that than the ones that you're going to find at the grocery store that have been pumped full of who knows what kind of antibiotics and, you know, raised in just atrocious conditions many times. So if you're a nature lover like myself, look at this one. My little escape artist. I'm going to have to name that girl Houdini or something. Anyways, if you're a nature lover, there's nothing better than this, because you've just cut out, by producing your own eggs, you've cut out all of those people that would have to, you know, not only grow, produce, transport, put them on the shelf, put them in a package, all this stuff. You've cut all those people out of the loop. So again, this is like prepper insurance. If you're into prepping, this is like level 2, you know, phase 2. First, get everything stocked up in your house and all that stuff. Get your canned goods, get everything you can afford to stock up on, stocked up nicely. And then when you're ready to start, you know, producing your own food, I would highly recommend getting a backyard flock of chickens. You need to at least have 4, I would say, because they're a flock animal. They don't really do well on their own. I think they might go crazy and die if you tried to raise one by itself. Look at this girl. She is just, she is just curious. Yeah, I'm going to name her Houdini, I think, if my wife hadn't already named her, because I can tell she's going to be my escape artist. So we'll just finish the video out watching Houdini here, and we'll get a little zoom in on her since she's given us such a good show. And guys, I highly recommend this. Just good for your soul, good for your spirit, good for your belly. Gives you peace of mind. So I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I think they like being on camera. I don't think I could have made them do that if I had tried.